I don't know if you guys have seen those videos of those kids standing outside the window of McDonald's or like any fast food place with their tongues out while their friend records them just to rage bait the people inside and like capture their reactions. Well, I was just featured in one of those videos last night and I made a fool of myself. Now, you see, I decided to go to dinner at Chipotle by myself because I did not feel like cooking. And everything was normal at first. I got in line, I ordered my bowl, I got a drink, and I sat down. But I made the fatal mistake of sitting down at a table facing a window. So there I was, just minding my business, eating my Chipotle bowl, and looking out the window when these two imbeciles come up to the window, one of them with their tongue out and the other one recording. And I'm thinking in my head, like, I know exactly where this is going because I've seen the videos online. But I was like, you know what? I want to give these guys a show. So I thought to myself, what is the funniest possible thing I could do? And then I thought of it. I had the bright idea to rage through the window. So I got myself all red and veiny and I started like shaking my fist and making like a mad face at them. But I did not stop there. I started banging on the glass passionately as if I was trying to get to these kids, and the look on this kid's face was priceless. It was like... And then I kid you not, I acted like I was going towards the exit as if I was gonna go outside and chase these kids away. And before I could even get close to the door, these kids were out of there. They were gone. And then I just went back to my seat and continued eating my Chipotle, never to see those kids again. But looking back, yes, what I did was funny. Yes, I think it's gonna make a hilarious video. But if people see that video and they don't know me, they're just gonna think I'm crazy. So if you see that video, please just report it. Pretty please. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts on how to get something like that off the internet. Guys, if you are interviewing for jobs right now and you think that you are prepared for every possible question that you could be asked in your interview, let me tell you, you are not prepared. And I would know because when I was interviewing for jobs, I was asked this one question that I don't think anyone could be prepared for. And I absolutely embarrassed myself trying to answer it. Now, you see, I was fresh out of college and I had already done some mock interviews and interview seminars, and I actually made it to the next stages of some real interviews. So I thought I was kind of good at interviewing and prepared. So once I got to the third and final round of interviews for a marketing position at a very well-known company, I thought I was ready. I thought it'd be a walk in the park because I already got through the first two rounds. Update, I was not ready. Now, it's important to note that this was my first in-person interview at this company, so I was a little nervous, but nonetheless, everything was normal at first. I was interviewing with one of the marketing managers, and she was asking me all of the normal questions like, do you work well on teams? What are your biggest strengths? What are your biggest weaknesses? And I gave her all of the basic answers like, I am a great team builder and my biggest weakness is I work too hard. But suddenly her whole vibe switches up and she looks down at this eraser on her desk and she picks it up and she hands it over to me and she's just like, I want you to sell this to me. And I was confused at first because I was not applying for a position at an eraser company, but I really wanted this position, so I was just like, can you give me a moment? And she was just like, 1 minute. So the clock's ticking and I'm thinking like, what do I do? What do I do? Because I didn't want to be boring and just list the things an eraser does. But then I was like, I know. I'll do a jingle. And I had this notepad and I was just jotting down all of my ideas. And before I knew it, my minute was up. So I proceed with my pitch and I have it right here, guys. So I'll perform it. No more little mistake. Don't you stress. Grab your rubber. Stop that mess. Whether it's paper or who knows what. This eraser's got no ifs or buts. Tell me why this lady goes, wow. That's a first. I was devastated. She made me feel like a freak. What was I supposed to do? It's an eraser. What more could I say? So yeah, I didn't get the job and I embarrassed myself. I don't even think the jingle's that bad. Like, what would you have done? But if you're a company and you want a jingle, let me know. Now, I promise I do not support the banning of books in any capacity. I think it's a really bad sign when a country starts banning books. But with that being said, there is this one book that I think that we should have a little bit more control over. And the reason I say this is because I grew up with this book and it had me doing some wild things that 13-year-old little Mark definitely should not have been doing. The book is called The Dangerous Book for Boys, and boy, is it dangerous. I don't even remember how I got the book. It just spawned into my life one day, and it was pretty much an encyclopedia on how to do normal things like tie a knot or pitch a tent, but also crazy things like how to build a legitimate weapon. I distinctly remember this one section on how to build a torch was especially interesting to 13-year-old Lil Marker because I had just watched the Shrek movie with that angry mob of people with torches, and I was like, I want to do that. So I went to my neighborhood friends and I was just like, guys, we could do this. And somehow I convinced them that this was a good idea. So I proceeded to organize my neighborhood friends so we could make these torches. And I was like, okay, Tom, you get the sticks. Jessica, you get the rags. And Jason, you get the kerosene. I didn't get anything, obviously, because I was the boss. I also didn't want to get in trouble. Yeah, I was an asshole. Nonetheless, as my friends were gathering materials, more neighborhood kids were joining in. And before you know it, we had a good-sized mob. By the end of it, we had like 30 kids, so we made 30 torches. And when the sun finally set, we lit them up. So Low Marker and this pack of 30 children just start circling the neighborhood with our torches. And some kids even brought blankets and wore them as cloaks to really cement that medieval vibe. We're just walking around looking for a cause. Did we find one? Not really, but we did start making chants. We were just like, more Legos, more Legos. No bedtime, no bedtime. And I remember some adults coming out onto their front lawns and hitting one of these, and that should have been our sign to stop, but unfortunately it wasn't. We didn't stop until one of the moms of one of the kids in the mobs literally ran up to us and screamed bloody murder for us to stop, and we all got quiet and we're like, oh shit. And bro, we all got in so much trouble. But I still did not tell my parents where I learned how to make torches, so I went on to make a lot crazier things from that book. So if you guys want more stories about that, let me know. Still do not know how that book is still around. Guys, today on the subway, someone humbled me to my core, and I need to tell you guys about it because I really do not think I deserved it. Now, you see, this morning, I was on the subway just going back home, and at some point on my ride, I see this random dude walking down the aisle of my train car, and he's looking back and forth from each row of seats, and he's asking everyone for money. And when I saw him, I was like, you know what? Let me see if I have anything to give him. So I checked my pockets, and I found one singular dollar. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give him this dollar. So he's asking everyone for money, and fast forward, he gets to me, and I'm holding out the dollar, and for some reason, he's not taking it. But he looks me up and down, taking an extra moment with me, and he goes on to say, may the Lord be with you, bless your soul, and he doesn't take my dollar, and he just continues down the aisle asking everyone else for money. So I'm just thinking, like, what's wrong with my money? Because he legitimately asked children, like 10-year-olds in front of me for money, and he doesn't want my money? Is it what I'm wearing? I thought collars were old money. I want to be old money. Oh my God, I just realized it's probably my haircut. Oh my God. Seriously, I don't think I deserve that. I was trying to do a good thing. Why did no one have the need to tell me what the meaning of the term SYBAU was? Because I just embarrassed myself in front of a bunch of my friends pretending to know what it meant, and I'm devastated. Now, you see, recently I've been seeing the term SYBAU used all across social media, and right off the bat, I thought it was a Japanese word because it looks like a Japanese word. And normally when you see a bunch of white people commenting a Japanese word, it's about an anime. So I assumed that SYBAU was an anime. Sue me. So last night when I went over to my friends for a movie night and the movie finished and one of my friends suggested that we watch a show afterwards, I was like, oh, we should watch SYBAU because my friends are big anime people. But then one of my friends, he was just like, what is that? And then everyone else was like, yeah, what is that? And I'm confused because I'm thinking like, I thought you guys were anime people and you don't know what SYBAU is, but I wanted to fit in. So I was just like, yeah, SYBAU, it's like a really good anime. And then one of my friends who's like the biggest anime fan was just like, funny, I've never heard of it. What is it about? And I wanted to seem like I knew what I was talking about. So I was just like, yeah, it's just your typical hero's journey. It's just the animation is incredible. And after I said that, everyone was like, all right, let's watch it. So I start typing in SYBAU into the search bar of the TV in front of everyone. And at this point, I still think it's a real show. So when I'm done typing it into the TV and there's no search results and all of my friends start uncontrollably laughing, I get really confused. And I'm just like, what's so funny, guys? I guess no platform has the show. What's so funny? And then all my friends start being like, shut your up, shut your. And I'm just like, why are y'all being so mean to me? Like, this is so out of character. I thought y'all were my friends. And for like 5 minutes, they just kept going, telling me to shut it. But eventually they did tell me what it meant. And bro, I was devastated. Looking back though, I cannot be the only one that thought that. Please let me know what you guys thought it meant because I'm feeling kind of stupid. I used to think that if you had one of those robot vacuum cleaners, that it would be a game changer in your life, because I thought that if you had one, you wouldn't ever have to worry about cleaning your floors again. That's until my friend got one of these robot vacuum cleaners and I saw the truth, and it was nasty. Now, you see, my friend had been thinking about getting one of these robot vacuum cleaners for a while because she had been living alone at the time. She works a 9 to 5 and she also has a little dog, so just general housekeeping was pretty hard for her to keep up with. And we all knew that she wanted one because in the months leading up to her actually getting the robot, she asked everyone for a recommendation. And it makes sense because these things are really expensive and you don't want to just get one on a whim. That being said, she did eventually get the robot and she was so excited when she got it. She was like sending us videos, she was putting things on her story. Even I was like, maybe I should get one. And everything seemed fine at first. That's until one day when I came over to her apartment. We'd been hanging out all day together in the city, and at the end of our hangout, I was like, you know what? I want to see your dog. It's been forever since I've seen your dog. And she was just like, how about you just come up to my apartment then, Mark? And I was like, okay. So we walk up to her apartment, she opens the door, and this stench hits me like a brick wall. It smells like a sewer, so I'm thinking like, what is going on? I kid you not, we walk in to see poop smeared all over the floor. We quickly realized that her dog had pooped on the floor, and this robot vacuum had run over the poop and just kept smearing it everywhere. It was a nightmare. It was in the kitchen, it was in the bedroom, it was in the bathroom, it was everywhere. My friend starts crying and I just felt so bad, so I stayed there till 12 a.m. helping her clean it all up. Now, this was a couple years ago, so the technology is probably better now, but that image is scarred into my brain. There's gotta be something better on the market now, like more technologically advanced, something that can avoid doki. You know what? If a robot vacuum brand is watching and wants to send me a product, I will take one for the team and test it out and see if I can build my trust back with robot vacuums. But what are y'all's opinions on robot vacuums? Because right now, the fear of one of them smearing poop all around my apartment is enough to not make me trust them. If you needed yet another reason to not go on one of those swingy rides at amusement parks, let me tell you what happened to me a couple years ago when I went on one of those swingy rides, because it was not pretty, to put it lightly. Now, you see, me and two of my buddies were at this county fair type thing near my hometown, and they had a bunch of rides, one of them being that swingy ride. And we looked at it and we were like, yo, that looks like a lot of fun. Let's go on it. And so we got tickets for it. And everything starts out normal for us. We get on the ride, they strap us in, and the ride starts swinging as usual. And if you don't already know, the way this ride works is basically it just keeps swinging, building up momentum until it can make a full 360 loop-de-doop. So there me and my friends were going like, whoa, whoa, with each swing in anticipation for the 360 loop-de-doop. So imagine our dismay when we finally build up the momentum to get to the top and we get stuck there vertically. So there we were, 100 feet up in the air, just hanging upside down. And at first we thought it was part of the experience, but then a minute goes by, 2 minutes go by, 5 minutes go by, and we were just like, this is definitely not part of the ride. And people started complaining, me included, because the blood was rushing to our heads. But we were 100 feet above the ground, so we were yelling at the ground to get us down. And I distinctly remember someone on the ground yelling back at us, so there's a bit of a technical issue. And we were just like, really? Fast forward 5 minutes, we have been up there for 10 minutes, and I'm doing crunches to try and keep the blood out of my head. And I see that the fire department was below us, so I'm thinking like, this is big. But tell me why the fire department brings out their trampoline and puts it right below us. So I'm thinking like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to jump onto this trampoline from 100 feet above. Nonetheless, like another 5 minutes go by and we are still stuck upside down, and we're freaking out because people are starting to black out. And we're just like, how are we gonna get down? And then suddenly we start feeling the ride start to tip. And we're like, yes! And luckily it did fall all the way to the bottom, but it didn't stop when it got there. It just kept swinging. So we just had to ride the ride until it stopped and like lost all momentum. And eventually we did get off, but people literally passed out from the blood going from their head back down to their body. Also, in total, we were up there upside down for like 20 minutes. And I know that doesn't sound that long, but 20 minutes feels like an eternity when you're upside down. And there were these paramedics below that told us that we were lucky because if we were upside down any longer, we could have gotten permanent medical issues. And I just saw that video of that one swingy ride literally splitting in half. So I'm starting to think it's really not worth it. Let me know what you guys think, but it's a no for me. If you happen to see a video of someone blowing a kiss to me on the subway platform while I'm on the subway, please just do me a favor and do not watch the video all the way through and just report it because I made a fool of myself yet again. For those of you that don't know, there is this trend going on of someone standing on the subway platform and then just blowing a kiss to a random stranger through the subway window and like capturing their reaction. And it's really funny because sometimes the reactions are like really good and sometimes the reactions are really bad, but it doesn't really matter because they're on a subway that's moving in a couple seconds. That in mind, the other day when I was on the subway and I saw a girl blowing a kiss at me through the subway window, I knew I wanted a good video, so I knew I had to perform, and boy did I perform. I proceed to look over at her with the most longing, romantic stare while I quickly came up with my idea, and once I came up with it, I blew her a kiss right back, and my performance started. And I know y'all are about to say this is disgusting, but I do disgusting things for art. I start repeatedly smooching the subway window, just like... I then get up out of my seat and I start dancing like a friggin' siren. I was irresistible. The subway then started moving and I started walking down the aisle to stay with her, and that walking quickly became running from car to car. I was reaching out being like, "You will not leave me." It was like a Hallmark movie. But yeah, looking back, I kind of regret everything that I did because I remembered that my digital footprint lasts forever. So if you see it, please just report it. By the way, I didn't think I'd be showcasing my shirt today. I don't support that. It's just a comfortable shirt.